Next time around, Red pushed into Kismiel and found, hey, they didn't have what they needed. I recorded them up here, what they need. I don't know if they'll be back, but, they have half of it. And then Gray moved into Darien, which they found they actually had what was needed, which was a science officer and $50, which is just, nothing. So I threw all my guys down there, just in case somebody pops in there. It is possible. I don't know where anybody is. I just circled it. There it is. So if somebody was on Jana, they could make it there. But otherwise, it's not going to make a damn bit of difference. But the money collecting up here on Winnan for Gray is really getting nasty. That's 750 now. Players Blue explored a new place, making it to Gideon 8 by going through a jump. And then Green followed the path they were on and ended up at Perseus. Neither one could handle what's there, but the planets that are unexplored is down to 3 now. And I forgot something. Yeah, it came to mind as soon as I started thinking of it. Wait a minute, there were 2 ways this game ends. One is if you get to 7 systems. That's sort of the auto victory. But the other is the credits you have in hand, home system, and colonies, and then an extra 100 for each system that you control. So, yeah, this isn't going to go on forever. I was kind of intrigued by the idea that it would. But yeah, as soon as those last 3 planets are out. So players are going to have to start thinking, do I want to go to a new planet? Or, can I work out a way to get to Wenon and try to capture that? Because that's a pile of money that honestly is as big as anyone has on the board. If you look here, we're looking at 750 on a couple of players who have been doing okay. Remember, you started with 1,000, so you're losing money. But you also have to take into account, how many planets other people have, whether you want to aim for people who have a lot of planets. Right now, there's an extra $300 for a couple of these players in terms of victory points. So even if they don't have a lot spread out, the fact that they control a fair number of planets is important. It's kind of weird because the 2 victory conditions are really actually very different, right? 7 planets, doesn't matter how valuable they are. Tons and tons of cash. Well, maybe you didn't want to spend your cash as much on that. Maybe you want to play it just as a raider or a marauder and go capture it where other people put cash. Obviously, it's worth colonizing planets where it's essentially free. But yeah, the last 2, and I'll go back downstairs after this. One of them heading for Talus, where there's a pile of money, if I recall correctly, sitting there, as well as a planet. Now, I don't know how well it's defended. I don't know how well anything's defended. This is kind of one of the things is like, if you don't know how many cards people have put in a place, you don't have any clue whatsoever. But even if you do know how many cards, you don't know how big it is. If you're hauling a load of 4, 2-point cards or something, yeah, maybe you can take it, maybe not. You don't know. And then Yellow is also, they're heading for Quizlar, or maybe Kismiel. Yellow doesn't have an impressive hand, probably. They have a nice mix. So, running into new planets is of some worth to them. The problem, of course, is they will be decreasing the number of planets there are. And if all the planets are turned, all the planetary markers have been turned up. So it doesn't happen for discovering the planets. It happens for following their pathways, which even if you discover that last planet, you might choose to let it sit there if nobody else is really close to it, if you have some means of getting cash otherwise. Then again, maybe not. Maybe you're just sick of it. Okay, we've hit a failure. Red went after the Saigon space here and has exactly the same strength as the Saigon space does. They threw their entire fleet in, of course. That puts red in a problematic position. And I believe, I don't know about combat here. If the losing player occupied the system that was being invaded, it gets taken. Basically, I'm not sure if there's a functioning colony here. Now, a colony doesn't have to have a colonist on it. You only need a colonist to settle the colony, and it doesn't cost you the colonist, which is kind of cool. But following the rules explicitly, I think this is a wiped out colony. Like, I think this colony still exists. I don't think there's a situation in which, and this was something I was worried about, in which a colony is taken over, is completely wiped out, but the enemy doesn't get unless the enemy can take it. So I think this remains in yellow's hands. I don't see anything that requires now. Basically, I think this remains as under yellow's control, but it is trivial to take by anyone who has any cards at this point. And now red is going to have a problem because they're going to have to make it back to one of their colonies. Now, they should have several on the board. I see 2 there and another one up at Helios. But Saigon goes to Nistria, which I don't know where it is, and then to black hole number 3. Black hole 3 is probably down here. No, it's over here, which is near a couple of my places, so that's not a terrible place to go in a couple of moves. Nistria is... boy. Like, I don't know. I guess one thing I could do is look for, does anybody own Nistria? Nistria is owned by yellow. That's up here. That doesn't really help me as much. I mean, it gets me close to Helios, but black hole 3 I think gets me closer, and I can hit both of those if I'm wise. But red is in a whole world of hurt now. Because they have no cards and no capacity to get them until they return to a world they control. If they lose all their worlds, then they become just a lost ship, basically, and are knocked out of the game. We have a bigger problem. Weenon's not easy to get to. However, if I can find Perseus, which is over here. Well, somebody, blue, I think, maybe green. Remember, I have trouble distinguishing those. Blue is up here. Green, then, is in a position to jump right to Weenon. So, I'm looking at gray, trying to figure out, I'd like to grab my money, right? This is my force. I'm at Darien, which I've conquered. I thought Weenon was going to be kind of safe for some reason, but obviously it's not. Somebody is right near it. So all my money is going to get stolen. Assuming I don't win the battle. I may have put quite a punch there. Other than that, from Darien, wherever the hell that is, I could go to Enkins. Now, Gray doesn't know anything about Enkins. Enkius, something like that, which should be empty. It's over here. Maybe my best option is to try to draw for that. I think I just want to buy four things, assuming there are four, because the cards are a limited resource now. And then I will pick a colonist. I have a linguistics. I have an extra linguistics. Over here I have security and engineering. I'll put these in Darien. And we'll do the jump to Enkius. And I did not put a flag at Darien. That's fine. I don't rely on the flags on the board for anything except to see what's conquerable. And now where was Enkius again? It's over here. And now I look at the card and I need Astro Marines and $100. I don't have it. How that goes. And so that did not work out for him. I'd really like to get back to Talos. Nothing connects to that. So Gideon, the planet that I'm at, may well just jump me there. And the best thing I can hope for is really to make that transit. And that transit is to something else that I can't read. Looks like Pharaon or Pharon or something like that. That'll be this, Falron. Well, I just discovered another planet. And with this big pile of money, you know, whoever ends up owning that is going to win. But what I'd like to do is bump into it. Falron is in the wrong direction, and it's not going to get me here. We already know what's going to get there. So I peek at what's at Falron, I guess. And it's another blank card. Wow. Primitive custom culture requires a linguistics officer. I have one. And I have colonists. So yeah, I'll be colonizing that. It might behoove me to hold on to some cards, but on the other hand, no. This might be the win for the game. So I'm going to throw everything at Wenon here. And I mean, the thing is, obviously, it doesn't go well for me if I don't capture it. But it's not good for me to have like a colonist left or anything, at least at this point in the game. Okay, so we're facing too much. 7, 9, 11 to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I lose 9, but this has to lose 9 as well. Wenon remains in Gray's hands. A whole bunch of cards are discarded, and Green is now also knocked out, basically. Not as completely. I have some cash. Well, I don't know. Because I don't know where Wenon goes. Wenon goes to a black hole. Great. So I want to get to Itarian or Armanon, because otherwise I can't get a crew. Wenon goes to black hole 1, which isn't exactly what I want. But black hole 2 is from Kudket, which I don't know where it is. Kudket is owned by white, so there should be a tan. That's way up here. That looks... Well, wait a minute. Black hole 1 is where Wenon goes to. So this may actually be my quickest way to where I'm going. Is Kudket goes to what? What did I say? God. Kudket goes to black hole 2. So yeah, I mean, that may be my quickest path towards there. On the other hand, maybe there's other things, you know. what gets me to Iterion? Armenian does. What gets me to Armenian? Talus does. How far am I from Talus? It's not an easy run, you know? So we'll see. White and yellow, white's almost to Talus, and yellow is working its way towards things it can explore, because that's where my arrow is pointing, and I don't want to rethink everything. All right. That's probably it for tonight. I'm pretty damn tired and still have some crap to do in my game. It takes fucking forever to play. But really, we've got two people who've lost their crews, which means they have to go back and do something. It looks like more because of blue, but blue is actually sitting on a planet now that has this Valron that they've populated. So next turn they'll get to expend and buy stuff. Right now, though, it looks very likely there are only 2 undiscovered planets, 3 chits that aren't flipped over yet. It looks very likely that this is going to be a big value towards the winning the game. However, if people are focusing so much on trying to capture where the big money is, it might just happen that somebody could slip into that 7 planets. I don't know. I was playing, I made earlier statements about, well, you know, the game would go too quickly in a small number of players. And that might still be the case, because you would just turn over spaces and eventually, you know, if you followed this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, you could get a chain if you got lucky with your crew selection, whatever, that just gave you the win, essentially. And if it's only a couple of people over the whole board, unless they stumble into each other, it's unlikely they'll be taking things from one another. So, yeah, there's a lot more likelihood of running into different chains, I think, when you're looking at 4 or 5 players, 6 players, whatever. So the game might be kind of, I still think the game would be kind of dull in less players. I am enjoying it more than I was, finding that the map is really the key thing, getting that in place. But also, these are of some value. If I can make decisions based on, well, there's nothing obvious to do from where I'm at. Is there something not so obvious to do? But it is a painful process to figure out, you know, where you're going to move and whatnot. But that's sort of what the game is about. Now, the problem of me walking away, I got to sleep and stuff, but also I just don't play games straight through. Once upon a time, maybe I did, but not much. Red has no crew, so I have to figure out where I can limp home to. And again, the map gets in your way, because I got stuff over here, so if I can get to Black Hole 3 or Black Hole 2, but also Helios, Rolter, and Langdorf. Now, I think I did this analysis before, but I don't know quite how to do it. I can do 2 jumps to Black Hole 3, which gets me very close to some of my stuff. That probably is my best, and I think that's what I remember doing. But you really have to, you know, look at sort of this weird manifold and try to figure out what the shortest route between things is. It's not simple as it usually is in games. You know, and some of them, wow, that terrain's really expensive, I want to avoid it. But here, no, it's crazy what you're trying to figure out, at least from my side. I could think, well, is it just the map and just this? But it's not. I have to combine these short paths with possible little cuts that I can make. You know, like there's these, space is just so folded in both directions. Like, I can't just count on one of these necessarily being my best route. It's a combination of 2 different, you know, types of topography that are, by folding them together, you've created something that's almost, yeah, I don't, it's almost beyond my ability to cope with. And it was without, writing down one of the two maps. A somewhat less urgent option, but I really do need to get back there. So I need to get back to Wenon or Wenin or whatever with Gray. Well, why? Because Wenin's been, its defensive forces have been decimated, more than that, by Green hitting it, which means it's now one hell of a target, where it was before was, tasty. Well, I'm over here at Enkius. And what I want to do is I want to get something along the lines to Wenian. So I start looking back. Where the fuck is Perseus? That's my first option, because that would get me straight there if I can find it. Now, where I am on Enkian is on a different track, so Enkius. So I could get to Kudket. Okay, Kudket's up here, but I don't know where Perseus is. Perseus is way down here, so that's like Black Hole 3, Rolter, Jana, Moltes. None of that sounds likely. So then Velcrom is the next one I need to look at. Okay, how do I get to Velcrom? Now, Etarian will get me there. That's the next one back. So unless Velcrom is peculiarly close to anything, it's close to Black Hole 4. That doesn't... Well, Black Hole 4 is Balzar. That's closer than Etarian. Huh. Can I remember all of this? Yeah, it also gets me a chance to go to a planet that I haven't been to before, I think. I don't see Velcrom on there. But on the other hand, if I have a linguist and an engineer, there's another path which is of interest, and I do. Oh, shit. Okay, so that makes the Perseus possibility better, because I have this. So if I can get to Perseus, Perseus is through Velcrom. That is the same path. It's just whether I want to hit Etarian, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 away, or 1, 2, 3 to Balzar. I think the Etarian is actually easier. Certainly to remember. And that's the kind of thinking you have to do to figure out how to get from point A to point B. Just to sort of highlight it. More heavily defended planets, shit is going bad. So blue, here at Falron, found where it went, goes to Janus 6, and I bought 4 more cards, maximum allowed, right? I'm in Janus 6. This is my hand. Janus 6 has a big Astro Marine, so they're at 7, 2, 4, 5, 6. I am beaten. But that means Janus 6 is now heavily depleted. However, blue is in the bad place too, with money, a little bit, money on planets in some cases, but no, well, not in many. They have one planet, but it has a lot of money in it. But they have no, no capability to do anything with their ship until they get back to a planet they control. Why? Because I used all my cards. But if I don't use all my cards, I'll probably have very few cards, not even enough to colonize a planet. Because the planets that need to be colonized now, there's a good chance that they're problem planets. Have they all been reached? No. Zella could be good. It could be easy to take. Saigon is not really empty, but reaching there would fix my problem if I had a single card. Now, does Janus go on the Saigon track? No, it doesn't. That would be something to keep in mind. Hey, is there something that's been hit that's on the path that you're heading for? I didn't think that carefully. Brought up in comments, someone who's a regular viewer, which confuses me, that oh, this is a multiplayer game. It's not going to. This really is. It's not going to suit your playstyle well. My playstyle handles, multiplayer games very, very well, I think. I mean, I have my ways of handling diplomacy, of handling interpersonal relationships at the game and all that are sort of built in terms of relationships that grow during the game and dislikes and whatnot. But there is a facet of this and some other multiplayer games which gets in the way, which is that the perspective is so complex as to what your options are and everything, that it becomes very, very difficult to make good decisions. Now, with games that I, started playing, say in 1980 or earlier, or around there, that's okay, because I've sort of absorbed them so much that I kind of understand the complexities in it. But the complexities have grown. When you start looking at things like CDGs, this is a 78 game, so I should be, but it's not one that I'm used to. But when you look at like CDGs with their handfuls of cards, they start causing me problems. It's not a problem because it's a multiplayer game. It's a problem because each context switch involves a lot of information. And this game suffers from that same situation. That's where I'm getting trouble, is remembering where I am with each of the players. I can play a game like Dune, which does have cards and whatnot, but again, I'm used to that, right? I'm used to that particular game. I can play games like Junta and whatnot. The cards generally are pretty situational. I don't have to look at everybody's hand all the time. I miss some things. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that I certainly the stuff I enjoy the most is the big multiplayer games to play solitaire and opposed, but yeah. Best path, not a great one, to limp home, looks to me to go to Rolter, which will get me to Helios, and Helios gets me close to Tarion and Arminian. The other option would be to jump from Wenin to this black hole. I didn't see anything there. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not present. It's just hard. White also wants to get home because Janus has been weakened and has a lot of cash on it, but I'm nearly at Talus, so I'll make my decisions there. I land a whole bunch of troops, hit some Astro Marines, and I capture it and get a pile of money from Talus aboard my ship, which is good because I had no money left. That leaves me this, and I swap things out. For yellow, after an attack on Saigon that left it empty, I gotta get back there. I'm not far away, but it's not that expensive for me to go to Quizlar first and maybe find another thing. I'm not sure how much I want to find other things, because we're down to 2 unexplored jump routes now. And that can't be right. Oh, so this isn't really finding something new. Someone else has already done the Quizlar jump route over there. I don't know where the hell it goes. So what goes to Saigon? Kismiel. You know what? Screw that. I don't go this way. I go this way. Because Kismiel and Quizlar, I was heading for both of them to explore them. I don't think yellow knows shit about them. Oh, I do. I need a medicine and a linguist. I don't have it. Fuck. But it'll get me back to my home planet more quickly. One problem I have is my total cash isn't good. Aboard my ship isn't good, and even what I'm going to get from Saigon isn't good. I've spent a lot on cards. All right, I guess we break for a little bit. Myself in an there, and I'm not really sure that I was reaching to formulate words there. I did. I've been kind of pursuing these filler words, right? In part because I've been playing with chatbots and it's an issue there. But by playing with the filler words, with them as a sort of thinking about them along the lines of they're your mind trying to reach a better formulation or jump ahead or give yourself some time. And I had some words about that earlier for those of you who follow this. But, just watch everything or whatever. But in that particular case, I feel like there was a different motivation than my mind trying to come up with the right words. I feel like there was almost a hesitancy towards making the decision to pause. So I think they serve different purposes. Linguistically, they make the same sense, and they're annoying, but there you have it. It's so funny because you listen. I've been watching a lot of, almost did it there, What's My Line shows for whatever reason. And yeah, these were, highly educated people of the time being on the panel and whatnot and very poised. And they had probably been taught not to use them, but very, very, very much they do not, for the most part. It's an enjoyable show because people have to do thinking, in real time, and you get kind of familiar with the regulars on it, who are sort of the game show contestants, as it were. The real game show contestant who's coming in each time is the guests that they're trying to guess. And the prizes are probably not that impressive, from what I can see. Gray, trying to make their merry ways where they're heading. Blue just suffered a catastrophe. Gray doesn't need to, but they feel like they have to defend when, and it's so valuable. Blue has just suffered a catastrophe, though, and is heading for the only place they own still, Falron. This is, if I look here, Gideon 8 and Moltes get me to Falron, but Falron is almost as close. So we'll just head back. Limping our way back there, unless Janus 6 takes us to Black Hole 1, which I don't believe it does. So I think it was a starting one. Something screwy. I've got Moltes Gideon 8 to Falron, but I've got Falron here, so I'm going to get rid of this and move that line up to there. White is succeeding in taking things, so I bought a full load of ship of crew. The crew deck has replenished with all this fighting that's going on. Talrus takes me to Arminian, which someone else owns. So we're going to hit that. And we'll throw our whole fleet, our whole force in again. I'm just counting that this is going to work. People have gotten in trouble with that, but that's 3 hits. I'll take them there. And now I have improved my position. I'm not far from the victory situation here. I'm 2 planets away, which means now people have to contemplate, whether or not they need to stop me in addition to all their other problems that are going on. Load your ship up and everything. One of the things with this game is it's hard to interact with other people in sort of a directed fashion. So having to hunt green, well, good luck with that. First of all, if you've lost your crew, no, not green, having to hunt white. If you've lost your crew, you're just screwed, right? You can't do anything, you have to get home. If you haven't, the topography is so difficult to cope with, you may or may not be close to something. Gray is getting close, but well, they have a force, so they were planning on going for Etarian anyway. But that's a green planet. We want it to hit white, and yellow is the only other one with a fleet with forces available. Now wait, that can be complicated. So like, just because there's no troops here doesn't mean, because white's just got placed on Arminian. So it's not that clear. I have to look and see, is anybody on something? And my answer is no. All those ships are in transit, either in a black hole or an empty space. So I think I've got the correct thing. Only gray and yellow have forces capable of launching an attack against anyone. You know, yellow has to get back to their home. They're not near white, maybe Talus or something, but I wanted to get back to a home place for some reason or another. Which one was it? Saigon has a pile of money, and that's why I'm heading to Kishmil, I think. Yeah, Kishmil leads to Saigon. I don't know what leads to Kishmil. Other than empty space. It could be in the cup. And then from there, well, will Saigon get me anywhere? It'll get me to Nistrium, but that doesn't get me anywhere. But then it gets me to Black Hole 3, which is over here. There's no white near there. I mean, there's Jana, but which is weak. But things may be decided then. I've got an interview within the hour, so probably not going to be up for a little bit. But this is definitely beginning to hit on some gears that, you know, I suspected there was something interesting here, and I think there is. It's just, you know, I'm having a good time facing this particularly odd terrain. Now that I've got a grasp on how to cope with it, it's just the game doesn't provide you with the tools to handle everything. You know, you've seen I have to use little markers on the board to see physically what's controlled, because these off-board boxes just don't do it. I had to write up this, and then notes on what's been where. Normally, I don't like the idea of allowing someone to take notes during a game because of that sort of hidden trackable information type stuff. But here, it's information that only you were privy to. That, you know, I feel like, yeah, you need to be able to write that down if it can't be remembered. A lot of people are in long transits right now. In fact, everybody up until I hit white. White made a jump to Etarian. Somebody else is going in there, which may not be pleasant because they have a force as well. It might be a really dumb idea, but white is going to hit them. And I assume these combats are open to everyone. So gray will have some knowledge at the end of this fight as to how weakened Etarian is, and they're going in. This was perhaps a stupid idea, but I had a big draw of cards. I'm one of the few people who can generate cards. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to 7. I'm going to wipe this out. I'll take my soldiers out of the picture there. And now I got to decide what I'm going to do about Etarian. I've succeeded in taking it. I will take the money. But do I want to hold my cards because gray is coming in? And again, I don't know whether I know that he's got 4 cards, but I can see he's got cards. I am pretty sure that I'm going to get my ass beat if I go there. Etarian will take me to Velcrom, which has already been explored. My 2 colonists are not going to get me Velcrom. I know that, but I can't risk the attack. But I did grab some cash, and that's a worthwhile thing wherever I go to. Since white was so gung-ho about attacking, was, hey, I'm 1 away from ending this game after I take Etarian. Well, yeah, but my eyes were too big for me, and there's a lot of ships converging on there. So I think I'll just take the money and run. Probably ended up a negative production overall. And that's the thing, when you do attack someone, You might lose. And you're probably going to lose a couple of cards. That's a couple $100. You know, I grabbed 250, so I'm a little ahead, but I feel like I've sort of shot my wad and put myself in a position where I'm not really doing any better than anyone else in terms of being able to launch an attack. And gray, presumably, and maybe yellow, are in better positions now to take the offensive. But hey, whatever. Makes it back to Saigon from where they were, and I think their next one is Nistrium, actually, or Nistria, which is also their planet up here. By the time I've traveled to those couple, I'll have collected up some fair amount of money and be able to operate. I dropped all my people down on Saigon just in case somebody has a way to get there. I can't think of one, but it feels like the safe way to do things. Sit into Rolter, grabs up their cash. They're all ready to go, but they can't buy more cards. I sucked up all the cards because I've got, and I guess that's green, coming in on me. They don't have any troops, so it probably isn't a big deal. They're not going to be able to attack me anyway. But again, I can't really afford to lose my planet. Rolter, I don't know where it gets me. It's got to be in here somewhere. Rolter is behind Langdorf, which sucks because Langdorf is my other place. I would have been better off going to Langdorf first. Rolter had more money, but now I think I'm going to make my trip up to Langdorf as well to collect up that $500 essentially for more operations. The game is close to an end. You know, white could, you know, they're one planet away, but gray is probably going to beat me, you know. But gray may be afraid to leave troops behind as well of any significance because, again, they're going to be moving in. They have their force. If it's a big force, they can drop it there and know that white can't take it. If it's not a big force, I can't afford to do anything other than claim the planet. And then white can just stick behind and claim the planet the next turn. Keep meaning to mention, and then forget because I'm caught up on the game. I'm back after the interview, right? And it went pretty well. You know, just screening interview. But I've been a couple of weeks of just not doing anything because the market sucks right now. And, you know, but it's not going to get much better, I think. This is actually a position that sounds interesting. One of the things is, you know, the people who write the specs for a position don't always express exactly what's going to go on in it. And so there were some fears there, but I expressed them, and the screener didn't seem to think they were an issue. So we shall see. Decided they had enough to take Etarian, assuming they knew the points. They've got enough to hold it against them. Also, throwing a big fleet, a big quantity of crew cards down there, assuredly, you know, may be enough to bluff your way, even if you didn't have the sufficient force. But honestly, I would have sufficient force to hold it, even if all my cards were ones, because there were only 4 points left in white's hand. So, yeah, it was almost a certainty. However, I still want to get back to Wendian before somebody takes that big haul of money. Is out of the game. I have no crew. I have $200, but I have no planets and no crew. So they're knocked out, and we'll just pull them out. A couple of choices. Etarian doesn't go anywhere I want to. It's going to go to some place I cannot colonize, to another place I can't colonize, and eventually to Wenin, which I might be able to win with what I have on me, but it's just too far, and it doesn't really fit my goals. Which is, hey, I could actually win the 7 thing, and I'm collecting up money and everything on all kind of planets because of that. So my calls are whether I want to go to Oldkin, which might lose me the game. Well, no, not yet. So there's 2 planets left that nobody's discovered their jump routes from, Oldkin and Zala. I might want to go to Oldkin. I might be able to colonize it. It might go someplace I really like. The other option is to run back to something like Balzar up here, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, Oldkin's going to cost me 4 to get to, and there's no assurance. However, it might just luck me into something good, so I think that's what I'm going to do. If he leaves Etarian and makes a jump and leaves it empty, I can turn around and go right back and get my thing back. So that's a big thing. Is hey, if there's no forces there, I'm not on the one-way routes that the jump routes present. I'm in normal space. I can just turn around and go back. It's an interesting, the geography is just so weird in this. I keep saying topography, I don't know. It's the topography that's interesting, not the overall geography. Although the overall geography comes into play because, you know, you've got like the income of the planets and whatnot that all become interesting facets. Finishes off this round by picking up what they had at Saigon, leaving a force there, 4 cards, I think. And going on to Nistrium, picking up the money there, and I've cleared out my holdings. Now the question is, what can I do with that to improve my situation? And the big thing is, I'm definitely not winning right now. So my goals are going to be to either go after something like Wenian, if I can get there. I don't think I have any way to do so. Nistrium is going to take me to Black Hole 3, which isn't that far, honestly. So, who knows? But I also have capabilities to, say, get to Perseus with a big load of explorers and whatnot. That may be better. And then move on from there to see what happens. And then also, I've got to be careful about white. And that's one problem. If I go for Wenanon, I might be far from white. But you don't know, because like what does Rolton or whatever, Rolter, go to? Well, we have to look. I'm not seeing it, which is a problem because I know it was detected early. Oh, there it is. It goes back to Helios, which is not far from White's heartland. So, yeah, this doesn't seem like a terrible place to head to. All right, that's it for a bit. So Red heads off out of Rolter towards Wenian instead of going up to Langdorf. I really should have hit Langdorf first. That would have been the efficient way to do it. But I can't give up on the big prize down here. And Wenian sends me, you know, off to Black Hole 1, which is up here. Who knows where I can get from there, what can happen, but clearly hitting Wenian seems valuable. Picked up a load of new troops there. Gray left a pile of stuff at Etarian, used up almost all their money in doing so. Went to Velcrom and found out that, hey, I've got what's needed here. I thought I didn't have enough money, but no, this is a 50. So we'll be colonizing that. Collected up their money from Nistrium. They actually have a full boat of 8 cards. I could really pull more cards for better defense of Nistrium, but instead of doing that, I'm holding my money and heading off into a place where there's a couple of planets I could attack. Langdorf obviously being the most interesting of them, and Red fucked up by leaving that open. There's, you know, 550 sitting there. And it'll be 600 by the time I, well, actually it'll be 700 by the time I get there, which White continued on instead of doubling back and attacking Etarian. I'm going to continue with my plan to go here. And blue moved close or whatever. All right, I'm going to pause for a bit. First couple, Red heading over to the big prize. Gray, the owner of the prize, is saying, well, you know, I put all my eggs in one basket. Not really, but, you know, did what everybody else is doing, but I'm out of money now after taking Velcrum. I pulled everything out of there, bought myself one more card, but now I'm, just back up to 4 cards there. Went to Perseus, which I knew about Perseus, and maybe I would have been able to take that, and maybe that would have been better because I wouldn't have spent the $50. But yeah, $50 isn't going to make a difference. But I'm not going to be able to manage Perseus. But my next move is into Wenian, and I should be able to defend that from red. Again, being able to see, there are some other games that are kind of like this, where it's just not clear whether you're going to make it before somebody else or not. You could calculate it out if you were aware of everything, but everybody might want to go here. So you'd have to check everybody's position. So it's very likely that you'd end up in this kind of situation where a couple people are heading to the same place, without any kind of hidden orders or anything like that. So that's kind of an interesting byproduct of it. Sometimes I find that very frustrating. I'm not finding it here, maybe because it's such a light game. I don't really mind, I feel like those mistakes are almost intrinsic to the game, as opposed to there's some kind of, oh, fuck, I can't believe I did this. Very lightweight. Blue makes it into Fallon, which is where their money was. They leave their troops on planet, but now they can revitalize and maybe do things. It looks hopeless for them, though, to be honest. They have 500 and $650. It's, enough to move to another planet and whatnot, but they're not really in the running. They're certainly not in the running if the last 2 planets get blown away. White may be, and White's going for this Oldkin. But, if they get the Oldkin and Xena and fire off those things, they might actually be in the lead. Sure, there's 2,000 here, but White's got a lot of planets with money on them. Do you calculate it all out at this point? I don't know, probably. But if it comes to, Oldkin leads to Xena or to Zila, then sure. Then we think real hard. Bad stuff. Red moves next to Wenian. Gray decides to dump, goes there, picks up the cash. Now that cash is safe. But Wenian itself could be captured. Red has to make a decision of what the hell they're doing. At this point, maybe just go for it. But going for it doesn't really do me any good because the money's been taken already. I could just sit there and generate cash. Moves their position greatly. They were 1 away from Janus 6. Falron to Janus 6 here. And it was lightly defended. I dropped all my stuff in there. Now I'm in much, much better shape with $1,000. Still, I don't feel like I'm in the running. But I also took away one of White's planets, which is maybe a bigger deal. The money and everything keeps me running. I left where I left from, Fallon or whatever, very poorly defended. Did I leave anything at all there? Yeah, I did leave at least a card there, which means people look and, I'm saying you can't really count the cards that are in a specific space, depending on how people stack them, obviously. But you can't paw through them or anything, so, yeah. All I can see is that it's defended. If I see an undefended planet like Velcrom here, yeah, that's tasty looking, That's real easy to take. To their destination, Oldkin, not surprisingly, they didn't find a perfect planet to inhabit with their 2 colonists that they have with them. It's not a great setup, but I'm hoping Oldkin goes somewhere useful for me, and we'll see what ends up with that. White may try to end the game, actually. I don't know, 2,000 is a lot. Like I said, White's got a lot of planets, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think I have the amount of cash that Gray has built up. However, remember each planet's worth like 100 and shit like that. So it's like, maybe I can win. Or at least place better than I would if this continues on. Like, I may be at my high water mark and may want to end it there in second place. Even though I didn't, because, you know, the thing is I didn't go for that big prize, right? I don't think I mentioned yellow, but they're just heading for Langdorf here. All right, time for another halt, I guess. I gotta eat something, I'm hungry. Launched that attack on Winden and took it. And the question is, what do I do with my colonists? Gray knows exactly what I've got here. They don't have much, but I'm just counting on them not being able to beat it too. We'll see. They will not be able to beat it too. That's what I suspected. Because they weren't, you know, when you attack, you have at most 4 cards total. I knew I faced to begin with. I know what was sitting here, and therefore there wasn't much else. But Gray didn't attack. They moved in there and reinforced and whatever. So there was some chance that Red could have failed. But an attack with a follow-up attack, the second person who attacks does better, right? Whoever's the last person to attack a space, if it's in short order, is going to have an advantage over everyone before them. But it seemed worth the chance just because I'm so far out of things. But, you know, because I didn't follow the proper path, I'm going to lose one of my planets. If I park here, I'll be able to build up a fair force, assuming no one else can make it in. I don't think they can, because there's no one near me, and whatever planet I fucking came from, Perseus, well, whatever planet Gray came from, there's no one there either. So Red should get a turn here. Thin cardstock cards that these are like, you know, these may have been ripped out. I feel, I don't know. They rip very easily. You'll see this in a lot of, you know, my old SPI games that have cards in them and whatnot. It's just not the modern, you know, quality of cards. If you look at things like Dune too, even those have a little bit. So Gray moved on to the black hole. That's near Darien, which is actually collecting up a lot of money for them. So I'll be able to recuperate, and I have tons of money. Maybe enough to win the game, and that may be my goal. Well, obviously my goal is to win the game, but my goal may at this point be to try and hit what will probably be the last space, because I'm expecting white to leave Oldkin. But blue is sitting on Janus and just bought a bunch of cards, and now I have to decide how to dispose of those. Considering that Janus takes me to Darien 2, faster than Gray. Oh, fucked. Able to take that and leave a fair-sized force there, just in case. I mean, it's impossible that anyone can get there, right? This is the closest ship. It's going to take 3 turns to get there. No one's at Janus. It'll take at least 2 turns. But it's really, really hard. You know, it takes enough effort to look at the map here and compare it, well, to the graph, whatever, and compare it to the map and try to see, you know, well, is everything safe there? It should be safe. But what's hard to remember is when you're going in and planning to go in physically, using normal, you know, using point-to-point movement instead of the star jumps, stargates, whatever you want to call them, it's hard to remember to check the stargates to see, hey, am I poised to just lose this? How bad is this? It's not good. I wanted to get back to Tarion or Velcrom but Darien was the place I really wanted to get to, so I was so happy to find that I didn't bother checking. And that's life. jump from Oldkin was fortuitous, I guess. It didn't end the game or put the game in danger of ending. Went back to Balzar, but that was one of my territories, so I hauled some money in and feel much more comfortable. Plus, I'm near some of my other things, Armion and Kudkit, and Enkius. Do I know anything about that? I don't, because I was stupid back then. But basically, there's two directions I can go in to get cash for myself. Kudkit is the more valuable right now, so that's probably the one I'd go to. But I might want to look here and see where these head. Kudkit is not along the lines of that. Kudkit takes me to another black hole. Enkins will take me there, so maybe I want to visit Enkins. Instead, it's just so complex, right? How to make things work. Armion isn't gonna, it's gonna take me all over the fucking place. But maybe that's what I want, because I could take Etarion, whatever. Makes its way into Langdorf and captures it. One reason you might not want to expose all your cards is if you have, it allows you to keep someone who's close on your heels from seeing everything you have. So if you know a planet's weak, like if you know a planet just got hit or something, and you maybe know what's there, you certainly don't want to expose more than you have to make good change in whatever, but everything like that. All right, next time around, Red decides to just sit here at Wendon. What happened to Gray? Where'd they go? Up here. In order to build up a good defense for it, rather than, just take by hand, which would be, there's only one card was left at Wendon, so now I've got 5 there. Next turn, I'll be able to have a full, a reasonable defense there, one that maybe can't even be impeached, right? If I can get there's no limit to how many cards you can put on a planet. So if I can get a good enough defense there that nobody could reasonably attack it with 4 cards, since you can only take 4 on a ship, unless 2 players are going to work together to blow me up and the second player gets all the advantages, which doesn't seem very, very likely. There's no rules for allowing you to transfer money or anything. You could arrange it by leaving cash in front, on a planet for someone to take. That's beyond the scope of my kind of playthrough. When there's that much mechanism happening in order to reach certain kinds of deals. But I have to say, I could see it happening. However, I never trust anyone in those kind of circumstances. I would keep my word, but I don't trust anyone else too. Gotten themselves into a shitty position. I have cash. I don't know how to get anywhere. I don't have many planets, do I? 2, 4, 5. I have Etarion. So there's nothing, everything around here has stuff that would have to be conquered, and I only have a 1-point battle. I can't win if there's a card there. And there are cards not on my planet, Velcrom. Great. I don't know. I don't think I dished out my cash yet. So Velcrom gets one, and what other planet do I have? Etarion. Okay. So Etarion and maybe Velcron, but Etarion's really the one I want to get to. Armenian is the way to get there. Talus. None of these are near me. Falron has something on it, so I can't really attack it. Gideon 8, there is some chance that I could find Gideon, but that I have the one card that's necessary to do it. But I don't even have a colonist, so I can't colonize it. So I'm kind of in the shitter right now. So Kudkit, where does Kudkit get me? Because Falron gets me to Janus 6, which is over here, and then to Enkins, which is, Jesus, I don't know. Enkins should be open. It's up there, Enkius. That's kind of close to Tarion, but I have a long walk to get there. Falron. We didn't find the Kudket one, though. Where the fuck is Kudket? Kudket doesn't get me anywhere good. Well, actually it does. It gets me to this black hole, which is right near Tarion. So, okay. We'll do that. But yeah, we're in the shitter now. The only thing in our favor is we have a ton of money. If the exploration could be completed, and I don't have anything that's, you know, undiscovered near me that would get me a new path. There's only one left, Zella. So, you know, if I could get to Zella, that would be worth it. But I don't think I was getting anywhere. Wait, how did I get to Talus? I didn't. We don't have a route back to Talus yet. Okay. Not a problem. I just bought myself 4 cards. Everybody's buying 4 cards if they possibly can. You know, if they have the money, which is everyone except Red right now. But the reason being, well, it sucks because you're throwing victory points into this, but you need to leave a defense behind to hold things. So even at this point, I feel like it's hard to make the decision how much to spend. But I'm sitting at Darien. If I don't defend it well, great, I'll just turn around and come back. So I wanted to get as many cards as I could. Now, Darien goes, I think, nowhere good. It goes to Enkins. Does Blue know about Enkins? Blue does not know anything about Enkins. Which might mean it's worth going to. Enkius, not Enkins. I can colonize it. It would cost me my big Astro Marines, which is my fighting capability. And it would cost me $100, which, you know, I'd make back, presumably. The next one it would go to is Kudket, which puts me back up there, and I'd want fighting capability. I could just hold off on Enkius, or I could colonize it, and I am not sure which makes more sense. I think I'll colonize it just because I can't, like, not take things, but it's expensive for not much value. Spends their 4 cards worth and starts heading for Kudket, which is their most valuable location right now. It also has a jump that gets me back to Black Hole 2, which gets me closer to Arminian, and maybe I can conquer stuff. Otherwise, I also have options in this area that could be conquered. Getting that 7 is going to be really hard in this. Even now we're down to 5 players, but you know, I think the 7 is a bigger option. You know, at first I thought, oh, the game's going to be over really quickly in, like, you know, 3 players or something with capturing stuff. So this would be a more interesting version. I'm not sure that the lower number of players is that uninteresting, but it would definitely work out to be quicker paths to victory. At least one path to victory would be quicker. The other one maybe not so much, because you might be less interested in exploring. It follows the Langdorf to Rolter path. Seizing Rolter. Before I took it, and if I didn't make that move, there would have only been 1 card available in the discard pile. Which is, again, this indication, you know, there comes a point where, or points in the game where maybe, at least in a large number of players, where the ships are carrying, you know, the more ships there are, the more the deck is challenged. And also perhaps the faster the planets are discovered. But a point where your money doesn't do you any good. They won't take it anymore because there are no more troops to amass. or whatever they are, crew. But, at this point, they're just troops in most cases. Is this a wise idea? Well, it puts a threat on Wenian. Again, red, and had I not spent the troops, it puts a serious threat on Wenian. But Rolter goes to Helios, and hey, if red wants to go back up and get this, that's fine, whatever. I've captured the money that was sitting on Langdorf and now on Roltier. Roltier was only like 200. I keep thinking that the game's going to end, but like sometime very soon, but it doesn't really feel like, there's an opportunity for it. Somebody gets to Zila, they can end the game by taking that path, which might be an appealing choice for Gray. Can Gray get there? Is this Gray? I can't tell the gray and the white. Yeah. So Gray is heading for Kudket. What I want to get to is near Zila, but I don't know, what that is. But black hole number 2 doesn't really get me there. But what gets me in the range of Velcrom, Talus, which I think nothing does, Zila, nothing does, black hole 4. Black hole 4 is Wenian. So red is actually in a position that they could end the game, probably, by jumping in here and taking the move, or just moving here. But red needs to collect money off Wenian for that to work. And maybe the best thing I can do is just sit there on Wenian and fortify it. That's what I sort of planned on doing anyway, but maybe even fortify it more, just to make sure that I keep collecting that cash off of it each turn. That's going to be a long game if that's the case. And in terms of people who want to get there, like I said, Gray is probably in a pretty good shape to get there. They actually have a pile of money here at Iteron, so I want to get to Iteron. Was there a way to get there? Did Kudket get me to Iteron? Is that why I'm heading there? I don't know. Doesn't look like it. Kudket gets me to Black Hole 2, though, which gets me to Iteron, which is pretty good. But I think it's going to be a while, so I'm going to load this one up because whatever.